guys, go make yourself a cup of tea because it is tea time. I am having a herbal blend with lemongrass today, and today I would like to talk to you about happiness, and more specifically the pursuit of happiness and the sense in that, I guess. So I myself am very guilty of pursuing happiness in life, as far as you can call that guilt, because I feel like it's very normal, given that happiness is such a positive and pleasant thing to experience. For the longest time, whenever someone asks me what I want from life and kind of what my goal is and what I'm working towards, my answer has always been that I just want to be happy and live a happy life. But the more time goes by, the more I realize that that might not actually be a goal that is realistic or attainable or even desirable to have, I guess. Because when you have reaching happiness as a goal in life, then there are two questions that you need to ask. First of them is, what even is happiness? And the second is it something that can be achieved in any way? So to me, personally, happiness can be two different things. First of all, it is an emotion, which is fleeting and will always pass. It is always something that is just a little chunk of time and will change again with time. And the second form of happiness, I guess, is having a feeling of satisfaction over a prolonged period of time, satisfaction with the way your life looks, just your situation in general. And that, I feel, is what most people mean when they say they, seek happiness. And I feel like that is already a much more obtainable goal than seeking happiness, the emotion, for like this eternal happiness that's never going to happen. That's just humanly impossible to always just feel one emotion. And it's also not something you should want, I think. Because in their own way, all emotions are useful and worth experiencing. Plus, you also need to remember that happiness would be very dulled down if you didn't have anything to compare it to from the more negative spectrum of emotions. Now, what I personally think is the problem with seeking happiness as this kind of perfect form of life, or seeking happiness in this image you have for yourself in your future life. Every single goal you set for yourself, when you say, I will be happy when I have this, or when I reach this goal, or when I accomplish this, is that as soon as you get there, you will already have the next thing lined up. And it is very hard, that's just a human thing, it is very hard to stop and be satisfied and be like, okay, I have reached happiness now. And this is something that I know from my own experience as well. I mean, if I look back now on, say, 5 to 10 years ago and what I was desperately longing for back then, I essentially have it all right now. I have a healthy long-term relationship. I live in a beautiful little apartment in a very sought-after location. I have an absolute dream job. So by all means, I should be happy. I should be very happy. And for the most part, I am. I mean, I guess I realize how lucky I am and that I have so much of what could, constitute happiness. But at the same time, there are so many times when I am just not happy. Even though I have all of this now, I also have so many things that I still want, and I feel like I would be happier if I had them. And I'm sure that as soon as I do have them, if I ever do have them, I will have the next thing again that I will look forward to and think I will be happy when I have that. I feel like this is kind of a never-ending cycle of looking for things that are better, bigger, more, I guess. And I'm not entirely sure that that is necessarily the way that you will actually find happiness. So I'm wondering if it wouldn't be better, instead of, seeking for happiness, to seek fulfillment instead. Because I feel like if you look back at your life and it's made up of all of these kind of like fleeting moments of happiness, like buying a new car, going on a holiday with friends, or getting a raise at work, which are all, of course, amazing moments, and by all means do try and, get those in your life. But if looking back at all of those will leave you feeling fulfilled at the end of your life, and if it wouldn't be better to kind of try and shape your life in a way that is meaningful to you. So just assuming happiness is not something that is achievable as such, wouldn't it be much better to be able to look back on a life that was meaningful and knowing that you stuck by your values and your being on Earth did something to make the Earth or your community or society or whatever just a little bit better, and that your life was meaningful, even if it's just in a small way. I feel like that could give you so much more than just seeking happiness. I hope I'm expressing myself right, but I do know that from my own experience, when I, for example, watch a show on Netflix that I enjoy, I feel happy. But when I spend the same amount of time on doing something that I find very fulfilling, and for me that is, for example, creating something, I feel a very deep sense of purpose when I'm creating. That is a completely different feeling, and I'm not entirely sure I would necessarily classify it as happiness, but it does make me feel good and kind of like I am doing something that has meaning and purpose and is much more powerful than something that simply makes me happy for a while. Along the same lines, I can't really say that my choice to not eat meat, for example, is making me very happy on a day-to-day basis. In fact, it does sometimes make life more difficult and bring me in some, uncomfortable situations. But on the other hand, it makes me feel good on a much deeper level of kind of satisfaction and, again, fulfillment. And it's just a completely different sensation. I feel like those are much more achievable because you have control over those things. There's always something you can do to make your life more meaningful and do something that contributes something or that you feel strongly about and that is important to you and that kind of comes from the core of your being. And when you are doing those things, even if you are not happy all the time, your life will be a good life, I guess. And I do want to say that, of course, within all of that, it is absolutely fine to seek out those little moments of joy and happiness in day-to-day life. And of course, life is just more pleasant when you have certain things and get to do certain things and have certain social connections. But I feel like as long as your basic needs are met, your basic human needs, food, shelter, things like that, and I personally would classify at least some human contact with that as well, then you should be able to find meaning and purpose and some degree of happiness in life, even though you might not feel either of those at all times. And you probably won't, because that's just impossible. On the other hand, I also feel like searching for happiness too intensely can make you more unhappy in a way, because you're so conscious of everything that is not yet ideal in your life and kind of so focused on improvement and so conscious of whether you are or aren't happy in that moment. Whereas I feel like if you kind of let it go, happiness just comes much more easily. A big part of this has to do with gratitude, I guess. I'm not sure that's the right word, but a certain sense of satisfaction and, I guess gratitude for the things you already have in life. Because every single person has something in their life that is good and that is worth being grateful for, even if it's just a small thing. And I feel like once you start to really appreciate all the things that you have in your life and everything that is already good in your life, and that is already much better than it was a few years ago, for example, then it is much easier to feel fulfilled and happy, I guess, and just more satisfied with life in general. But for that, it is really important to take a step back, kind of look at yourself and your life from a little distance and just realize everything you have and how far you've come, and to be grateful for the little things that you have and also the big things if you do happen to have them, and to not kind of downplay everything that you already have. Basically what I'm trying to say here is that I think that instead of seeking happiness, we should seek fulfillment and gratitude instead. And that is something that I am trying to work on for 2019. It was one of my New Year's resolutions, or kind of, it comes back in my list of keywords that I made for this year with all the kind of ways I want to feel this year. I had grateful in there. Striving to give my life meaning and purpose and to be grateful for all the good things that happen and all the good things that I have in my life will ultimately make me happier, paradoxically, than looking for happiness itself, which is pretty broad and hard to define and hard to achieve. So as always, I would be very happy to read any thoughts that you have on this topic. I love for these videos to have a discussion going on in the comment section, so absolutely feel free to share anything you have to share on this topic, and I will happily, engage in the conversation down there as well. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for loads more beauty and lifestyle content. If you'd like to support me on Patreon, there's a link in the description box below. Thank you so much for your support. There's another video here that you may also enjoy. You can go watch next. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you very soon in my next video. Bye!